Hello YouTube, welcome to Techs You Can't Live Without. When it comes to gaming and entertainment, nothing beats investing in a solid graphics card. Regardless of whether you're looking for the budget graphics cards, or just want to have the best gaming graphics card that money can buy, you came to the right place. So, without further ado, let's get started with the list. The GTX 1060 is based on the same Pascal architecture as the GTX 1080 and GTX 1070, but utilizes a newer GP106 GPU on the same 16nm FinFET process. All the Pascal features are also in this card with the GTX 1060, utilizing 1280 CUDA cores, running with a base clock of 1506 MHz, and can boost up to 1708 MHz. Memory runs at 8 GHz, and is wired to a 192-bit bus with a total of 6 GB. A 3 GB variant is also available, but that is a different spec sheet altogether. The GTX 1066 GB requires a single 6-pin power connector, and has no SLI support. Asus also deploys the same look on its dual-series graphics cards, as some of its motherboards. But even though the GTX 1060 Dual 3G is a mid-range card, it still packs a punch in the design and quality departments. The Asus GeForce GTX 1060 Dual 3G features patented wing blade fans, with over 100% more air pressure over the heat sink, and 3 times more quiet than reference cards like the GTX 1060 Founders Edition from NVIDIA. The GTX 1060 is a mid-range card, and offers the performance that NVIDIA thinks sits well within the current mainstream market. It delivers very decent 1080p performance, and if you could settle for lower graphic details, it looks like it can do 1440p easily, as well in some lighter games. The GTX 1060 does lack the ability to scale its performance, having no support for SLI. Asus takes pride in its quality, and even their supposed mainstream products emanate the company's high standard in quality. The Asus GTX 1060 Dual is a solid card, and while it doesn't have the heft of a real performance model, its performance together with its design offsets the need for that, as Asus still provides the same level of quality in the Dual's components. Overall, the Asus GTX 1060 Dual is the more economical choice if you're pursuing a GTX 1060 from Asus, and offers all the quality you'd expect from the company when it comes to build, cooling, and PCB quality. Not to mention that it's got a white shroud, which goes really well with the budding trend in black and white theme builds. Performance is good, and the premium that Asus imposes on its graphics cards are well worth the money when it comes to peace of mind and durability. Gigabyte's Radeon RX Vega 56 Gaming OCHG began its life as an AOS-branded stunner, but had to be pared back in the face of supply issues from AMD. What remains is still a very fast gaming board, albeit with a more budget-oriented cooler. Unfortunately, limited availability means there aren't many to go around. There's not a huge difference between the GPUs at the heart of the top-end RX Vega 64 and this lower-caste RX Vega 56. As the name suggests, the second-tier card has 56 compute units, compared with the 64 CU count of the higher-spec card. That means, AMD have jammed 3,584 GCN cores into the RX Vega 56, instead of the previous card's 4,096 GCN cores. Other than that, it's purely a case of some tweaked power settings, and lower clock speeds. Everything else is identical, down to the cooling design. That means, we're still talking about 8 GB of HBM2 video memory, and a 2048-bit bus. It's the same configuration, That makes the Vega 10 GPU a 486 square millimeters giant, with close to 13 billion transistors inside it. The overall design of the Vega architecture seems to have been about laying a marker in the sand, defining a branching point for future generations of their GPU technology. They've almost sacrificed legacy gaming performance for the promise of future applications of its feature set. The little extras the Vega architecture has baked into this GPU look like they could be genuinely game-changing. But only if developers actually end up taking advantage of them. And that's a pretty big if. If you're looking for an alternative to the GTX 1070, the bottom line is that you're generally getting around 10 to 12% of additional performance with the Vega 56, at the cost of some efficiency. Assuming the recommended US pricing holds up, and also the cryptocurrency miners don't jack up the costs horrendously, the value on offer here is very good overall, especially if you own, or are considering to buy a 1440p or 4K FreeSync display, which pairs nicely with this product, and constitutes one of the most profound gaming upgrades money can buy. Zotac Amp Extreme is the biggest GeForce GTX 1080 GPU in size that we've ever tested. Its dimensions measure 12.8 by 5.83 by 2.23 inches. This makes it a 2.5 slot card, so you'll definitely want to make sure that you have enough clearance in your rig before you purchase it. Zotac Amp Extreme card comes equipped with three 90mm fans. What makes them unique is that they won't actually spin until the GPU hits around 60 degrees Celsius. Zotac card offers the most aggressive out-of-the-box frequency, along with a boost clock that tops out at 1759 MHz. This makes it 177 MHz faster than NVIDIA's reference GTX 1080 The Amp Extreme also features an aggressive VRAM overclock, with its 11.2 gigabits per second rate. In terms of aesthetics, the card comes in the gunmetal gray. It's got some sharp-looking edges, but looks pretty clean overall. Zotac card offers RGB lighting. With its Spectra software, you can tweak 3 lighting zones on the board to cycle colors, breathe, and more. Unlike NVIDIA's reference board, which requires a 6-pin and an 8-pin power connector, Zotac card requires 2 8-pin power connectors. In terms of ports, it offers 3 DisplayPort 1.4 and a HDMI 2.0. The card is reasonably priced as well, slightly more expensive than NVIDIA's reference SKU though. Zotac GeForce GTX 1080 Amp Extreme is the fastest GeForce GTX 1080 we've ever tested, which makes it the fastest graphics card we've ever reviewed. While it is certainly a 4K capable card, you'll still most likely want to lower some graphical settings if you want to reach a consistent 60 FPS in more graphically demanding games. If you're in the market for a great bang for the buck 4K solution, we recommend NVIDIA's Founders Edition graphics card. If you're looking for the most badass gaming GPU in town, we recommend Zotac Amp Extreme solution. Just make sure it fits into your case.